Alrighty. Well, I look a little bit better put together, I guess. A little bit better. Oh, there we go. Alrighty. Oh, man. We've got so much to talk about today. The Eastern world, it is exploding. Violence flaring, bullets loading. You're old enough to kill. It's not for voting, but you don't believe in war. Well, what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating, but you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, that you don't believe. Why was it torched? Who knows? But I will say this much. Why does a synagogue normally get torched? Because some Nazi retard has it in his head that the Jews control everything and they decided that they would attack them directly. It's always stupid. There's no, like, trust me. Trust me. The chances that this was some kind of insurance job or inside job are almost zilch. I mean, this is the oldest synagogue in Mississippi we're talking about. Like the Times of Israel covered this. Trust me, this was not from within the Jewish community, and it was not like, because normally in an arson investigation, like honestly, their first thought is insurance fraud. Like that is the number one reason why people burn shit down is to collect the insurance money on it. And while I'm sure that the oldest synagogue in Mississippi is well insured, what I'm not so sure about is that the Jewish community of Mississippi would allow it to be torched for the insurance money, or that there's anyone involved in the process that would do that either. So, if you eliminate the most common reason for people to torch a building, then you're left with basic like questions that detectives would ask, like, well, what other associations does this building have, and what like what danger factors does those elicit? So, okay, it's a synagogue. All right, well, somebody might have hate crimed it. It's like your second thought, you know? Harper, what's up? Are you Jewish? No, I'm not Jewish. No. No, but I have an I have an immense amount of sympathy and um, respect for Jewish people, I think. You know, like I am very defensive of Jewish people the same way I'm defensive of Hispanic people and frankly defensive of black people. But I mean, black people are such effective voices for their own community. Not to say that Mexican and Jewish people don't do a good job, but I'm just saying, like, black people are so good at it that I don't really feel much of the need to, go off on that many black liberation rants. But, um, I do feel the need, especially these days with how much anti Semitism there is going around, to counteract anti Semitism and to discuss instances of anti Semitic hate crimes when they happen. Because I think in the wake of Israel's genocidal campaign against the Palestinians, there has been a real rise in anti Semitism that I believe is completely unjustified because the state of Israel is not all of Jewishness. The state of Israel does not represent the Jewish people. Okay, they are two different entities. So I think it's unjustified anti Semitism, but it is anti Semitism that is tracked upwards with the increasing amount of violence coming out of the Gaza Strip, being done to the Gaza Strip, really. You're looking amazing tonight. Thank you, Nude. I appreciate that. I don't think I'm looking any different than I was earlier, honestly, but I appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Uncle Flanus, what's up? Nice. Look at that. Stop saying their name. Who? Whose name? Howdy. Hi, Margot. Calm down, Jennifer. Have a Snickers. You know what? At least you're not making a trans joke. All right. Give me the Snickers. Thank you. Can you drive a manual transmission? It's been a long time, but yes. I mean, it hasn't. I haven't driven a manual since I was 12 years old. So if you sat me in front of a manual, yeah, I'm definitely going to grind the gears a little bit. But I get the idea, you know. I think, right? You know, so you make sure it's in neutral, right? And then you like put the clutch down to turn the engine on, I think. No, you don't need to worry about the clutch if it's in neutral. That's right. So you turn it on after you make sure it's on in neutral, right? And then you like, when you're ready to like shift into reverse, you put the clutch in and then you shift into reverse. And then you kind of like keep your hand there and you slowly let off the clutch and then it picks up the power from the engine. And yeah, I get the basic idea. I'd probably run through the, like, you know, I'd probably grind some gears, but I get the basic concepts behind it. Yeah. I'd probably stall it out a couple of times at least. Why are you talking about him? You don't know anything about... What are you talking about? Wait, what's going on now? You won't even turn it on from what you just said? Well, then maybe I'm fucking, you know, remembering more badly than I thought. You ever share these with your family or coworkers? I don't have coworkers in the sense that I make all of my money on YouTube, so my coworkers would be other people on YouTube. As far as sharing them with my family, yeah, there's actually quite a few people from my family who've happened upon these a time or two. If you ever see somebody named Amy in here, yeah, there's somebody named Amy that is a relative of mine that watches pretty regularly. I've had my mom on stream before. Like, I've had her sit beside me and do one of these before, so yeah. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. Once we get 200 people or more in here, we'll start talking about current events, politics, whatever else you guys want to talk about. But mostly I want to talk about the synagogue that was torched here in Mississippi and the massive amount of protest activity that's been going on in Iran. But we can only get to those topics if you guys get us up to 200 viewers or more. So please hit that like button. Please send in super chats. Please do the methods of engagement that will help my channel in the stream. Please, I'm begging you. No, seriously, please do it. Nice haircut. Thanks. Great flag in the back. Yeah, I know. It's nice, isn't it? Isn't it good to see back there? Why do you want to talk about that? Sounds boring. Well, well, all right. We're over 200 viewers, so let's talk about it. So, the oldest synagogue in Mississippi, in Jackson, was torched. It's currently being investigated as an arson investigation, but as I was telling somebody earlier, when the oldest synagogue in Mississippi burns, you don't assume that it's an arson. You don't assume that it's an insurance case. In my opinion, it's most reasonable to assume it's a hate crime. So it'll be interesting to see what the investigation is able to find out about that, because in the wake of the increasing amount of political tension and tension in the discourse that has come over the past year or two, and especially in the wake of the genocidal actions that Israel has been committing in the Gaza Strip, I think it's like, you know, it's very easy to look at the amount of anti-Semitism that has been happening over the past 2 years and look at it as pretty much a direct result of those two things. Israel is doing a lot of bad shit in the Middle East, and a lot of people erroneously attribute the actions of Israel to the consent of all Jewish people, and that's not how it works. The state of Israel is not all Jewish people. The state of Israel does not represent the Jewish people. Thank you so much, Juan Rivera. I appreciate that $20. Holy shit, didn't say anything, but I appreciate the $20. Dope. What a kind soul. Keep an eye out for their name just in case they do end up saying anything. If anybody wants to make sure their comment or question gets read or answered, consider sending a super chat. This is an audience-funded channel, and you guys make it possible. But anyway, There's been a lot of anti-Semitism rising since October 7th, and I think it's going to continue to rise until some kind of long-term peace is found in Israel. Because, like I said, a lot of people wrongfully attribute the actions of Israel to the actions of the Jewish people. And the truth of it is, the actions of Israel are the actions of Israelis. And there are Jewish Israelis, Christian Israelis, atheist Israelis. You do not have to be Jewish to be Israeli. And you don't have to be Israeli to be Jewish. So I think that we really need to be looking into, like, I think that this synagogue burning needs to be looked at as a hate crime. I really hope the Jackson PD are investigating it as a hate crime. Although I'll tell you what, um, Jackson, Mississippi was actually one of the first states in the United States, or I'm sorry, one of the first cities in the United States to elect a socialist mayor. So, I mean, it is a pretty lefty kind of progressive area. There's a good chance that the Jackson PD does have some people in there that are dedicated to investigating hate crimes. Hopefully that comes through. Thank you, Vincent, for the $1. I appreciate that. You guys are being extra generous tonight, and that's always appreciated. By the way, my Cash App is also down below if anybody prefers to donate through that method. Are you Jewish? No, I'm not Jewish. Are all these comments bots? A big chunk of them are bots, yes. I don't unleash the bots, but YouTube, I think, bots its own platform pretty heavily. And as a result, anybody that's making content that's got a little bit of controversy to it gets a bot dump that I think helps to attract in other people that might be real. I don't know. I don't know exactly how the back end works, but I can tell you this much. I would rather it be nothing but actual interesting people engaging in chats that I can do something with, you know? Do you support Charlie Kirk? No. I disagreed with him before he was shot dead, and I still disagree with him now that he's, lying in a grave somewhere. I think it would be pretty disingenuous of me to have gone years and been shit-talking Charlie Kirk for years and then suddenly just be like, oh, well, now he's dead, so I don't think any of that anymore. Nor would I think Charlie Kirk would want me to change all my opinions about him. He seems to revel in being controversial. He seemed to revel in being the left's worst nightmare, to being someone that the left had a hard time debating and all this other shit. He seemed to revel in being a controversial figure on the conservative right. So I don't think he would want me to just suddenly fall in love with him in the wake of his death. Obama, Obama, Obama. Why are you spamming Obama in here? Get out of here. What are you even trying to say? What, I'm an Obama simp? You haven't even heard me mention the name until your dumbass started spamming him in here. Do you regret your choices that make you look this way? No. I'm so fucking happy that I came out as trans. Literally, every day I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't always look the best, but at least I look a little bit closer to how I want to. Every day, I feel like I get just a little bit better at being, like, authentically real. Like, I don't know. I don't know why people feel the need to project their own insecurities and hatefulness on other people and assume that every human being around them has the same problems with self-perception that they do. But I do not suffer thusly. You're dope the way God made you? Yeah, God made me trans, and thus I am. Do you practice any religion? No. I was invoking God just then because some Christian was making an argument about God not liking trans people. But I make the argument that if God does indeed exist, then trans people are clearly part of his plan. I don't know that God does exist, but I bet if he does, that he clearly created trans people. Because if not, why do we appear in so many different histories? Why are we such a regular feature of society, you know? I'm MAGA and you seem like a cool trans. I mean, I feel like most trans people are probably cool if you get to know us, you know? I like a lot of trans people are like extra defensive, but you can say that about a lot of people, and we shouldn't judge, any of them on the basis of their being merely belonging to one group. I mean, there are a whole lot of people I see, that are super conservative that freak out in public, but I don't automatically assume whenever I see a MAGA hat that I'm dealing with a Karen. You know what I mean? I don't automatically assume just because I see someone with a MAGA hat that that's going to be an unreasonable prick. Even though a lot of the time when you see someone being an unreasonable prick online, it's not that uncommon for them to start invoking Trump and all that other shit. But I still don't assume that going into an interaction with somebody, you know? Were you originally male or female? It will come to you in a dream. Do you like eggs or nah? Nah. Nah. Was Charlie's death a calibration for you? A calibration? You want to retype that one real quick and try again? I think what you mean to say was I celebrating because Charlie Kirk died? And the answer to that question is no, I was not. Nor was I grieving. Ultimately, I don't think the world lost a whole lot when we lost Charlie Kirk. Other than, well, we lost a whole lot in the sense that we lost just a little bit more of our sense of sanctity with the First Amendment. You know, we lost, I don't think Charlie Kirk's contributions were all that fucking important because I disagreed with him. And not only do I disagree with him, but I thought a lot of his prescriptions were ultimately the type of language that leads to the destruction of free societies. So I believe he was an actively harmful figure, but I don't think that he was advocating for violence, which is my red line for wanting violence done upon someone else, you know? He didn't meet that metric for me. And I think that anytime you have someone who is a politician or a public speaker or something like that get assassinated merely for having the wrong opinion or really get assassinated for any reason, I think it's always a little damaging to the perception that you actually have an effective First Amendment in the United States. Anytime somebody like that dies, I felt the same way about the two Democratic lawmakers that were assassinated in 2025. Every single one of these big assassinations that happens is just one more example of the active attack that we are all under, I think, from billionaires in the death throes of capitalism, late stage, I think, you know. Let me see here. Let me slow down the chat just a little bit by doing subs only mode and a little bit of a slow mode. We'll do 30 seconds, and that should make the chat readable again. Alrighty. If you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered, please consider sending a super chat. I do read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS. Thank you so much. If you had to be stranded on an island with a racist, who would your favorite to be stranded with? Frank Ancona. Look him up. Frank Ancona, because me and him are from the same area in Missouri, and I know for a fact, because I knew people that knew him, I know for a fact that he was into hunting and fishing. I know for a fact that he was an outdoorsman, so Frank Ancona is my choice. Those of you who have no idea who Frank Ancona is are going to be fucking impressed with my answer when you when you Google search him. What are you taking hits off of? A bowl. I just, YouTube's sensitive about that kind of thing. Do you believe in the devil? No. No, not in the sense that I believe in some supernatural deity called the devil. But do I believe in the devil as a literary figure that you sometimes do get to meet in real life? Yeah, I think the devil as a character does happen pretty regularly. But the devil as an actual thing that can come, fuck you up. There's Jews in Missouri. Yeah. There's Jews everywhere, bro. What are you talking about? There's Jews all over the United States. You kidding? If a Romanian and an Irishman are locked in a room with a car, will the Romanian be able to steal the car before the Irishman blows it up? Dude, I love some good anti-white humor. Yes, yeah, yeah. The Romanian's definitely gonna boost that motherfucking car before the Irishman can get a chance to get to it. He will, of course, be incapacitated from drunkenness before he gets a chance to blow it up. Hey, are you trans? Yes, I'm trans. What firearms do you own? Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy? But you're white? Uh-huh. Point. You ain't never heard a black person making black jokes? It's like half of what black humor is based off of. What the fuck? What are you saying? Like, what's your point? Literally, like, listen to a fucking Chris Rock set. Half the fucking thing is making fun of, like, it. I don't know. It's not really making fun of, I guess, but it kind of is. I guess it just depends on your definition of making fun. Are you Irish? Little, yeah. Like, I'm okay, so I'm like 75% or something mixed Irish, English, Scottish. So broadly, them Isles. A lot of poor sharecroppers and fucking indentured servitude in my ancestry, no doubt. But I'm also like 18 to 20% French and German, and then some odd percent Finnish, and then some odd percent Swedish, and then 1% exotics, which is divided between like 0.6% Angolan and Congolese and 0.4% Iranian and Persian. I'm Republican, so what is your opinion on Venezuela? I don't think we need to be there. I don't think we ever needed to go there in the first place. Maduro's government has been willing to work with the United States for a while. Venezuela is not a known trafficking source for fentanyl into the United States. In fact, what drugs do come out of Venezuela into the United States is primarily cocaine. The rest of the drugs that go through Venezuela are primarily destined for Europe. And by the way, they're a way bigger fucking buyer of Andean cocaine than the United States is, as it turns out. And fentanyl is just not really known to pass through Venezuela. There's really not much need for it to. The main manufacturing facilities for fentanyl are located in Mexico. The following information, or I'm sorry, the preceding information that I just gave you can all be obtained by reading the United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes 2025 World Drug Report. Okay, so this is not bullshit. This is not me making it up. This is literally the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime World Drug Report for 2025. As in, the fucking, like, the United Nations, so the big fucking organization that's got access to all the countries and has access to America's intelligence network and all this other shit, like the organization that we basically subtly control, according to a body that we have tremendous influence over. Mind you, according to that body, most of the drugs that pass through Venezuela are destined for Western and Central Europe, not the United States. And the main drug that passes through Venezuela is not, in fact, fentanyl, which is what President Trump is trying to create a narrative around, but rather cocaine, which he is conveniently not talking much about, except when it comes to Colombia, which Colombia is actually a major source of cocaine. But um, he doesn't talk about when it comes to Venezuela because it's not ultimately about the actual reason for, like, the reason is just fluff, basically. It's just window dressing. Ultimately, the project is more neoconservatism. The project is enacting more Straussianism. It's got nothing to do with drugs. It's the same as WMDs in Iraq. It's a fake problem made up to allow the Trump administration excuse to go into a country and occupy it for an indefinite amount of time. Real quick, why is anyone listening to someone who looks like they haven't showered in days and has clothes filled with stains? Like, actually, what? Damn, man, sounds like, I don't know, you should probably get to a different stream where you don't have to look at my slovenly ass. That would be what I would do in your position. This is par for the course. We always cause problems in South America. Every so often, America looks at South America and says, how can I cause a power vacuum? Yeah, I mean, this is not just South America, though. Like, yes, obviously, this is a continuation of Monroe Doctrine shit that goes back 150 years, but ultimately, we have started to take this stance about the entire world, and there's very little that stops us or slows us down at this point, but, well, like Trump said, his own morality. I'm the problem? Cool, awesome, good to know. So you agree with Maduro's dictatorship? Interesting way to turn it around. An interesting slant you've got there. So anyone that's opposed to United States invasion must be in league with the dictator. This is the exact same kind of slant that was used during the Iraq War, by the way. And anybody who has read the news or who was even a child back then will remember this tactic. This idea that if you're not in support of America doing whatever the fuck America wants with this country, then you must be in support of its awful, horrible leader. It's kind of like how if you support Palestine, if you support the right of the people of Palestine to have democratic elections that are overseen by the UN and to have their choice of leaders respected by the international community, including Israel, it's kind of like how if you advocate for the human rights of Palestinians, you're accused of being Hamas sympathizer. Kind of like that, you know? It's just that mindset, but extrapolated worldwide. And now you are being made to believe that if you are a member of the principled anti-war left, or if you're just really principled in matters of anti-war in general, then you are not just a person who's principled on your stance when it comes to war. You are a person who is actually actively in concert with the dictator. This is the exact type of slant that is used to attempt to chill the speech of every anti-imperialism speaker in America's history. Every single time there comes a person like me who rightfully calls out America for its imperialistic actions in a given country or its imperialistic tendencies as a general rule, we get called out as traitors. We get called out as people who are what's the word I'm looking for? God damn it. Sympathetic to the regime. When the truth of it is, in the vast majority of cases, we're just principled people that don't want to see American blood and treasure committed to the project of making some government in this volatile region work for us. Not for the people of Venezuela, but for us. I don't think that America has any right to overtake every other country around it and subjugate them to our interest. I think that that's something we take upon ourselves because we have leaders who are corrupted by utterly greedy and avaricious visions of power that they have grown drunk on and that we've allowed them to pursue for far too long. What exactly is this discussion about? I just joined. If you're a person who's just joining, rather than sending a comment like that, please do me a favor and just sit for 2 or 3 minutes and listen, and you'll get an impression of what it's about. I can't go over the topic again every 5 seconds, but you can look at the title to get an impression of what we might be talking about, you know? Like, eh. What are your opinions on people who disagree with same-sex relationships? I mean, really, I don't care what they think as long as they don't want to legislate it. Like, I really don't give a fuck if you hate gay people as long as you don't want to legislate your hate into existence. The moment you start doing that, now we got a problem. You see? You see? You see what I'm saying? So if you're like, if somebody's just gonna say, oh, I don't like gay people, well, okay, all right, whatever. I really don't give a shit what you think, you know, and neither do the gays. But if somebody says, I don't like gay people and therefore I think gay people should be outlawed or banned or whatever, you know, then we've got a big problem. That's a big issue. Yeah, at that point. I do like how you have your own opinion. Well, I mean, everyone does, you know? It's just that a lot of people don't spend any time talking about it. A lot of people don't. Here's the real problem, honestly, is a lot of people have their own opinion but don't consider themselves worthy of having an opinion. The fact of it is, you are a human being subject to the government of the country that you live in. You have a right to an opinion. Mod sniped my chat so fast. Is this a free speech live? Pretty much. I mean, like, if you are just like gonna say you're a man all night, then you're probably gonna get sniped. But if you want to like substantively disagree with matters of gender theory or whatever, we can have that disagreement. We just don't tolerate endless, mindless, slavering spam. You know. You're not a woman. See, like comments like that. You're not a woman. That's not a useful comment. I can't do anything with that. You seem chill. I am. This is a super chill live. This is why you should hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can see more of these in the future. God bless our country. I agree. I think there's a big economic upside for both countries involved. No, there is not. No, there is not, dude. We do not want to sell this oil for a rate that will allow the Venezuelans to sell enough of it quickly enough to fucking overcome their production halts and all that shit and get their economy a boost and upstart and all that. Plus, even if we were going to sell their oil and at such a rate that it would allow them to clear big fucking just get their storage capacity back up and everything, we would not be giving them the lion's share of the profits. Trump's pretty much already said that. Trump has pretty much said that the money that we earn from the sale of Venezuelan oil is going to be up to him and his discretion to spend however he wants. And he also said that he's going to prioritize the United States and our interests over the interests of the Venezuelan people. So he's going to prioritize the interests of the American people in regards to profits off of Venezuelan oil more than he will consider the needs in regards of Venezuelan people. That is fucked. That is not diplomacy. That is not humanist. That is not righteous. That's terrorism. That's piracy. That's thievery on an international scale. And you'd oppose it if it was Russia or China doing it, but because it's America doing it, we got to have excuses for it. I don't buy that. I don't like that. That's smarmy. That's slimy. Let's not be slimy with our politics. This is how we've allowed ourselves to get to a country of people like Donald Trump and Kamala Harris being our only choices for president. Slimy, smarmy politics. Let's move past it. Average Trump hater, still a hell of a lot hotter than the average Trump voter. Well, not Trump voter. I should be careful to say it's not all Trump voters, especially not this last time. Tons of people voted for Trump this time because they thought he was actually going to do a fucking thing about the economy, unlike Biden. He didn't, but a lot of people thought he was going to, so I don't blame Trump voters necessarily, but the people who are still addicted to the Trump dick at this point, I think you guys have some splaining to do. That's all I'm going to say. Its empire in America has been an empire long before Trump was in power. Well, yeah, I never said that it had anything to do with Trump exclusively. Like, I've pointed out how this is a pattern that we have engaged in a ton of times, and it's had the same fucking bad results every time. The reason why I have to keep bringing Trump up is because I'm constantly faced with people who want to say that this is a good thing, not because they actually think it is a good thing, because a lot of them haven't actually thought about whether it is or not. The only reason why they're trying to argue that it's a good thing is because they've sold their soul to the MAGA train. They've sold their soul to the idea of Trump, and they therefore are married to the idea of Trump. They are devoted to it in a way that you cannot dissuade them, and they cannot diverge from their positions. So they just have to stubbornly insist. They've got no other choice. They've got no other option. And yeah, please like and subscribe. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's another chance to stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure, rank center people engage in the chat. By the way, we do have a donation goal. I wanted to talk to you guys about that. If we get $100 by this Friday, okay, and we're going to have weekly dono goals from here on out, and they'll increase with time, but for now, we're going to set it at 100 for some Von Helton and J-Dubs content. If you're somebody who used to watch Drunken Peasants, you'll remember these dudes. They were part of Brett Keene's little island of misfit toys, and I'm going to take a look at where they're at now. Spoiler alert, it's sad. If you think I'm a sad character, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. But we're going to be taking a look at them and seeing what they're up to these days, and maybe sending them some love if they're doing badly enough, frankly. But we're also going to, for $200 reached by Friday, we're going to be taking a look at some of the worst, most awfully made food in America. Or would you rather, guys, hold on. How much do you guys want to see me take a political compass test? Because I've heard people ask me about that before. I would support the deposing of Maduro even if Russia or China did it. The Venezuelan people seem pretty happy that he got deposed. The bad thing is no plan further. I mean, yeah, that's not just the only bad thing. That the whole, oh my God, we wouldn't need to have a plan further if we didn't go in and invade in the first place. I really do think that the answer this whole time was working with Venezuela. working with Venezuela. Countries that we work with have a tendency of fucking liberalizing over time. Not every single one, but there are examples you can look at of European countries that have started to liberalize because of their adjacency to, liberal democracies that are already in Europe. You can look at countries that America has had adjacency to that we have been able to turn into liberal democracies or something approximating it because we are so proximate to them and because we're willing to be on good terms with them. I'm not saying that we should have been infinitely kind. I'm saying that we should have brought in, here's the thing. If we really wanted to oust Maduro, then there was a completely, under color of law way that we could have done that. We could have called up a meeting of the UN, insisted that action needed to be taken to call new elections in Venezuela that would be monitored by the UN, and we could have brought the UN's peacekeeping force composed of willing coalition countries into that country to make sure that whatever the results of the election were, that they were followed and agreed to and acted upon. We could have done that. We didn't have to go in there and kidnap their leader right off the fucking, right out of the country. Hello, Phoebe. Can you play a guitar riff for us? I tell you what, if somebody super chats $10 or more, I will play you guys something on the guitar. Y'all constantly asking if Phoebe supports Israel or not. Wait a bit. Constantly asking, is it going to bring the topic up sooner? Yeah, I mean, it might, but a better way to get it up sooner is to get it up. But a better way to get the topic to be posted sooner is to just send a super chat or a cash app, that's in the description of this stream, and either way, you can have your message or comment read or answered. That's the best way to do it. All the diplomatic efforts internationally by President FDR and F. Truman were all thrown out. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I'll pay you 10 if you wash that shirt. I wash this shirt pretty regularly. It's just got some permanent stains on it. If you don't like that, then, I don't know, kick rocks. I really don't care. Sorry. You got to keep in mind every day with that person is their leader is another day for suffering. Yeah, I guess so. Pandobu support? Sure. Kind of like the UN is useless and wouldn't do anything. He's been around forever. How about Iran? UN doesn't do anything. The UN doesn't do anything because the fucking world's countries have stopped working together in furtherance of having it do things. Back during the 9/11 era, it was the UN that was largely responsible for doing, well, not responsible, but it was with UN coordination that we did a lot of the actions that we did in the Middle East in the wake of the fucking 9/11 era. But since the first Trump administration, we really have not been willing to do that much with the UN as a policymaking engine or as an enforcement engine or anything else. Really the closest we got in that time has been Joe Biden's weak-ass reign of 4 years where he did some stuff with the UN, but, the UN needs fucking support and participation from all of its member states, and, it needs to be, honestly, directed into specific actions by bold players in the international, on the international playing field. And it just isn't anymore, ever. America first or Israel first? Answer that. And if it's an answer I like, I'll super chat $10. Well, America first, duh. Who the fuck is going to be Israel first? Well, Zionists, I guess. Okay, so hear me out. Wouldn't you agree a fair amount of items were a lot more expensive during Biden term? Gas was already going down under Biden's term. People just don't remember, man. And gas really has not gone down that much more under Trump's term. But sure, there were things that were more expensive under Biden's term that are now less expensive. Technology, for example, continuously gets cheaper. Well, certain kinds of technology. A lot of consumer technology does. Cell phones don't. Cell phones keep getting more and more expensive, wouldn't you know? But a lot of consumer tech is getting cheaper by the day. And has been, by the way, under the last 3 or 4 administrations. It really doesn't seem like the president has much to do with those prices. As far as food prices go, food prices have held steady or continued to go up. Beef prices have continued to go up. Pork prices have continued to go up. Even chicken has started to get expensive in some places. And, that doesn't seem to be showing any signs of slowing down. Gas is basically the same, and now electronics is getting expensive. I mean, certain electronics are, a lot of consumer electronics are cheap like cheaper pretty much every year. I don't know, man. Like TVs, for example, are the ones that I always cite. Like if you look at what TVs used to cost, it was very difficult to get any TV bigger than 32 inches for less than $500 for the longest time. And then it got to where you could get a pretty nice TV bigger than that for between 50 to 100, you know? Excuse me. Well, thanks for the dollar, Half Nor. I appreciate the dollar. What I agree with is Trump's role in challenging and removing a dictator. That said, I strongly reject and condemn the bombing of innocent people and any actions caused harm to my people. Yeah, I mean, I just would say, you know, if you think it's all fucking sunshine and roses right now and you think it's great and you're really happy it happened, I'm happy that you're happy. But I just hope you know that America does not typically establish democracy, compassion, and kindness in the places that we imperialistically invade at our president's behest. Bless you. I don't know if that was a sneeze. No, I didn't. I didn't sneeze. Trump got eggs down. Eggs were already getting cheaper under the Biden administration. Like eggs went through like a really big fucking high there for a while, and then they got cheaper, and now they pretty much normalized. I mean, eggs are still not cheap, mind you, but they're normalized, I guess. You know, they're not as cheap as they were, but they're not as expensive as they were at their peak. How do you feel Bush did as president? Or is that Biden? How did I feel Biden did as president? Terribly. I mean, he did okay in terms of he didn't let the country burn down. He didn't deport giant, massive amounts of people the way Trump is. He wasn't allowing ICE to go run roughshod over people's rights in as high a numbers and as publicly and vociferously as they're doing now. But he really didn't do much outside of just running the country like an average liberal. And what we really need right now in America is not average liberal politics. We need transformative fucking change. We need somebody that could, we need somebody that'll pass universal health care. We need somebody that'll pass housing reform. We need somebody that'll pass big transformative change in this country that'll actually meaningfully make a difference in the way people are living and the expectations that come with their life. You've been brainwashed and poorly informed, naive. Well, that's not an argument, and I don't really appreciate it when people just baseline say that I'm wrong without really providing much of an argument, so. Who is the best president you can think of? Franklin Delano Roosevelt basically invented the modern framework by which America operates. The modern, like, social safety net that has been so eroded over the last 40 years was invented by FDR. And Truman after him. As a conservative, I'm glad you still see Biden's flaws. Well, if somebody doesn't see Biden's flaws, they're just a hack, frankly. Don't trust someone that acts like Biden was just some flawless president that didn't do anything wrong and was actually a great president. Do not trust them. Flatly don't trust them. There are plenty of leftists out here that know that Biden was full of shit. Yeah, we think Trump was full of shit too and still think he's full of shit now. But we also recognize that Biden was full of shit, you know? Like, there is some consistency to be found on the left, I promise you. You just have to look farther left than the liberals. You can't be looking at TYT for that shit, you know? Like, yeah, if your idea of leftism is what comes out of TYT, I can see why you might be misunderstood, you know? I can see why you might have a misunderstanding about the veracity of our positions and about the consistency thereof. FDR was great minus internment. Well, at least presidents used to be mixed bags, right? And I mean, I don't want to make excuses for the Japanese internment policy. It was horrible. We ripped people out of their lives, and in many cases, they went back and had nothing. It was a really horrible, oppressive policy, but we did not gas them. We were not starving them out. In fact, they were encouraged and allowed to keep massive gardens, cook their own meals, have like little economies going on in the camps. Once again, I'm not defending the policy. I'm just saying that it's compared in some ways to Nazi Germany's policies, and it wasn't really comparable in any way. The idea there was not to use them as free labor forever, but rather to segregate them from the population based on unfounded and unreasonable fears that they were going to turncoat on the United States merely because they had Japanese DNA. This, of course, was stupid, but it was a policy that is, in hindsight, far more acceptable than Hitler's policy of mass genocide, or some of the policies that came with the Soviet countries, the Great Purges, for example. And when you consider it in concert with all the wonderful things that FDR did for the American people, it's really hard to hold Japanese internment against them when you consider that he's also the inventor of Social Security, you know? And do you like the idea of during government shutdown, taxes stop so the federal government has to work? Yes, I do. Yes, I sure do. I sure enough do. Yes, I do. But I think the first thing that needs to go away whenever a government shutdown happens is politicians' paychecks. That's the first thing. And the paychecks to their security details. That's the thing I think needs to go away first. What's up, Nikki? What's up? Odd? Okay, well, right on. Always glad to be odd. Thank you for the $5, by the way. If anybody else wants to fucking send a super chat, please do so. You guys are the lifeblood of this channel. Audience-supported revenue entirely. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, dude, stop them politicians' paychecks as soon as they let the government shutdown happen. I guarantee you they'll get it back up and running quick. Especially if you end the paychecks on their security details. Trust me, the first time Nancy Pelosi has to cross a street without a fucking cadre of 10 bodyguards to protect her ass, trust me, she'll be rushing right back into the Congress chambers to write that legislation right up. Agreed. Politicians need to stop being paid as soon as the shutdown occurs. 100%. Stupid shit that we let them just endlessly accept a paycheck and they're not even sitting in there doing nothing. Like, if you and I, like, I'm a fucking YouTuber, but if I stop making content, I don't get paid, you know? Like, if I just decide to stop streaming for a week, I ain't gonna make no money. Ain't nobody gonna come and give me no handout, you know? Like, nobody's gonna come and fucking pick my ass up and carry me to the next week. And I bet it's the same for any of you guys. You have to be really rich before your workplace will just let you sit around for 2 months and not do shit and get paid for it. Passive income is nice. Yeah, I know. Trust me, that's why I've had so many landlords argue for why passive income is so nice. Though we don't agree on many views, thanks for taking your time to hang out on live, PBOF. God bless you. Well, of course, yeah, I'm here all the time. Here almost every night, so catch me more, you know? Are you voting in the midterms? I should register to vote and vote in the midterms, and I will try to remember to do so. I will try. I'm sorry, the odd was part of my first message. Okay, I'm a conservative, but I like to see both points. I think Trump never took a paycheck in the first term of his presidency. Yeah, but he was still, like, dude, even now, Trump spends a profound amount of his time at Mar-a-Lago. His time there is paid for by the taxpayers. Like, I'm pretty sure that the American taxpayer foots the bill to his company for staying at Mar-a-Lago and for his, like, security detail, and everybody else has got to stay there. So, like, just because he's not accepting a paycheck does not mean he's not costing the American taxpayer millions of dollars, you know? Yeah, all in all, I'm all about presidents and politicians in general being paid less and having less access to financial resources that they're just able to get and garner through the fucking federal government. But when it comes to Trump, people make this claim like as if he just is like a cost-free benefit to the United States. It's like, no. His utter insistence on remaining in places like Mar-a-Lago instead of like actually living at the White House full time is a massive drain on taxpayer resources. And the first campaign, he was spending a lot of his time between golfing, Mar-a-Lago, and Trump Tower. So, like, the U.S. taxpayers were footing millions of dollars in security bills, millions of dollars in hotel and room service fees and shit like that. Even if you assume that he was comping himself, even if you assume he was comping himself and his guests, I can bet you he was not comping his guards' rooms and everything else. Just something tells me that billionaire Donald J. Trump was not losing that much money every time he wants to stay at Trump Tower, every time he wants to stay at Mar-a-Lago. Politicians being paid at all is gross. That's what the Romans thought. I mean, not the whole time, not throughout the entirety of Rome, but there was a period of Rome's history where you were not allowed to take a paycheck just for being a politician by itself. Just so you know, the security details don't get paid until the government opens again. Well, good. That's good. That is awesome. But, they need to be hit even harder where it hurts in their own pockets. I agree. It's gotten out of hand. It 100% is. Who do you think is likely to win in 2028? Gavin Newsom, probably, if I had to take a guess. So what you're basically asking me is a really complicated question, because you're asking me, hey, run through the math real quick. Who do you think is going to run on the Republican side? Who do you think is going to end up winning the primary? Then who do you think isn't going to end up winning the major election? And you're asking me to do this for both parties at the same time, then generate some kind of answer as to who's going to win the overall competition. And my answer in particular today is Gavin Newsom. I think that he is the most likely shoe-in for the Democratic nomination, and the American people are already sick of Trump. His approval ratings are in the toilet, whether you like him or not, whether good, bad, right, or wrong, his approval ratings are not high, which does not indicate much of an advantage, especially in a midterms year. So he will almost certainly lose. And yes, I do think Trump is going to try to run again. I think that he will eventually be parliamentary procedured out of there, and there will be some other Republican that runs instead, probably J.D. Vance, who will fail even harder than Trump's attempt to illegally run for a third term will, and it will be left up to whatever Democrat has stepped up. And I think the Democrat most likely to ascend to that position, given the slate we have right now, is Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's going to suck. Yeah, he's going to be a horrible president. He's not going to do shit for the working class. He's not going to Californianize America the way I would want him to, Okay, as someone who lived in Cali for ages, Gavin Newsom is not my politician of choice. I'm hoping an independent will run, TBH. I'm hoping an independent runs too, dude. I've wanted an independent or a strong third-party candidate to run, and that's what I want you guys to go for. If you guys hear of some fucking strong third-party or independent fucking thing you want to do, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, and don't let anyone argue you out of it. The only reason why third parties can't win, supposedly in America, is because everybody's afraid that they won't be able to get a plurality. But if at least a third of Americans, a plurality does not mean, you just have to get a plurality of the votes. You don't have to get the majority. You have to get a plurality. Okay? And you're telling me that a third of Americans in every fucking single state can't be convinced to vote for a third party or a strong third party independent or whatever? They can be. It's silly. It's stupid. We have been fucking brainwashed for decades to believe that we cannot win with a third party or independent ticket. We can. We just need a movement that does not falter, that does not allow for any argument that we cannot be right. We are, objectively. J.D. Vance is going to win. None of that matters because we got Trump for 3 more years. Yeah, you guys keep on huffing that copium, and when J.D. Vance comes up to the voting, when it comes time to go vote for J.D. Vance, y'all go ahead and submit his name and wake up the next morning to find Gavin Newsom has been elected president. Because J.D. Vance ain't winning. I'm telling you now. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but J.D. Vance does not have the charisma to carry over the fucking... I would be more likely to hear an argument for Marco Rubio, honestly. If I had to look at the conservative slate and assume who's going to be able to carry up the torch of MAGA activism, Marco. Marco's actually got a little bit of charisma. He's clearly got fucking crazy-ass geopolitical neoconservative ambitions, which makes him a good shoo-in for continuing on the party as it seems to be pointed at this current point in time. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to ask me, crazy lefty that I am, which conservative I think will be taking up the Republican mantle in, actuality after J.D. Vance horribly loses his attempt to run for the Republican side of the presidency in 2028, right? After that fails, I think Marco Rubio will be the new leader of the party, or it'll just fall apart. I think that there is a very real chance that the Republican Party factionalizes hardcore after Trump's, little reign of terror is over. Little Marco, little Marco, little Marco. Do you shock your dog too? We still on Hassan's lame ass, dude? I don't even think Hassan was shocking his dog, but dude, whatever. I don't shock my dog, no. No. I'm a puppy kicking sumbitch, but I don't do that. I think if we get Newsom, he wouldn't even reverse the passport CO that's keeping me hostage in the country. That is fucking crazy. That is so creepy. Yeah, no, dude, the fact that there is literally restrictions on trans people getting our passports changed is legitimately, like, super fucking alarming, and no one ever talks about it, and it's one of the first things that Trump did. Oh, man. Anyway, yeah, no, fuck, I don't remember what I was gonna say. Not gonna lie, Trump is a decent president, but he can be bad in some cases. I think he's been bad in a ton of cases. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's the opposite way around. I would say every so often he does some good by accident. You should state all your policies. That would take forever. That would literally take forever. Do you invite on guests to talk if it's in good faith? I mean, yeah, in general I do. I can't right this second, but yes, in general. Usually on weekends. I wish I could pull John McAfee out of the grave and make him president. That would be nice, wouldn't it be? Bruh, the delusion and cope in you is very strong. The world is finally coming back to normalcy. As much as you don't like it and don't want it, do yourself a favor and start adapting now. You realize that the movement you are probably representing has like 31% approval rating. Like, if you think that trans people are going to be like rejected by society sometime soon, you got a different thing coming. Yeah, there's been an uptick in transphobia, like open and out transphobia, but there has not actually been a downtrend in people who support trans people, which means that transphobes are just getting louder. It's not that there's actually more of you guys, it's that you are realizing the infantile nature of your complaint about trans people. You're beginning to realize the futility of your movement, and you are screaming and throwing a tantrum like a child. Al Gore versus Jeb Bush 2026. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Jeb Bush ends up stealing it out from under Al Gore? Like the Bush family gets Al Gore fucking 2 different times in 2 different elections. Wouldn't that be kind of funny? It would be horrible for the country, but wouldn't it be kind of funny? Your movement was significant today. Nice, Post. Please clap. Please clap. What I don't get about trans women is that some of them just don't try to look like women, and that's what gets them disliked so much. I mean, you don't see ladyboys being hated on, just an opinion. I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like people accuse me of this all the time, but, like, this is a woman's hoodie and bangs with a bun is a pretty feminine haircut. And, like, what exactly do I have to do to convince you in particular that I'm legitimate as a trans woman? Do I need to, like, have bows in my hair and, like, dress in a petticoat and, like, a corset and everything? Exactly how much do I have to be performatively feminine for you to believe that I'm actually trans? Just be you. I am. I'm just making a point to this person. I'm making the point that they're being arbitrary, that they are deciding to exclude me from femininity, that they are deciding to declare that I haven't tried to look feminine merely because they don't see enough clear marks of femininity in their eyes on me in particular. But, like, that's just their perception on some level. I mean, I'm wearing, like, this is not a unisex hoodie. This is a hoodie meant for women. My haircut is a femme haircut. Like, glasses are expensive, or I would have had those switched already. You definitely already rant like a woman. Thank you for at least recognizing some innate characteristic of me that is feminine. Even though there's a difference in opinion, what's going on? Even there's a difference in opinion within the parties, the media and government really drive the divider between the people that's on both sides. Wish we had more open conversations about politics. Well, that's what I try to do here, is provide people an opportunity for that. Because the media wants you to believe that conversations like this can't happen. The media wants you to believe, and I know that that's like a buzzword, but like when I say the media, I mean like the mainstream media, the big players in the marketplace. They want you to believe that interactions like this never happen, that you simply can't do what we've been doing here for the last fucking 35 minutes, you know? By the way, if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered, consider sending a super chat. I do read every single one, as long as it is a Piley TOS. If we get up to $100, which by the way, we've already gotten $29 today, but if we get up to $100 by Friday, we are going to be doing some looking into some old lol cow content. And if we get up to $200 by Friday night, we are going to be doing a political compass test on that Friday, or this upcoming Saturday, one of the two. But these are the goals for this week. Keep them in mind. Once again, we are already up to 29. We almost have 100 likes. Yes, get us up to 100 likes, people. Come on now. Let's do it. Phoebe, do you think people should tell kids they could be trans? Yes, because, like, a kid can be trans. Like, most kids are not going to be. Most, again, and they're not going to care, and it's not going to affect their life. But for that 0.1% of kids that ends up being trans, it's going to be a transformative fucking thing that you told them that ends up being what informs them about the rest of their life and their ability to, like, self-identify. Like, for the tiny percentage of kids that actually do turn out to be trans, it's going to be like a really wonderful thing for them to hear at school. Yes, this is a legitimate identity that some people experience. What's your view on the China and U.S. situation? I think that we just fucked China out of $80 billion, and we really need to watch our ass when it comes to what they can do in retaliation. We've been really wanting to hold on to Taiwan. Well, our ability to hold on to Taiwan just got a lot weaker. Our position just got a lot weaker. Please read the last comment. Phoebe, not related, but I'm tired of some gay men not liking trans women and getting excluded from their spaces. Well, I mean, like, I wouldn't, as a trans woman myself, I don't think I necessarily do belong in the space of a gay man, like, I'm not a man, and I'm bisexual, so personally, I'm cool with gay men excluding trans women from their spaces, because gay men and trans women are not, like, if it's meant to be a space for gay men, then why would you want a trans woman, like, unless they are, like, straight, in which case, like, okay, like, if they're going to allow cisgender women, then I think it's a problem if they're not going to allow trans women. But ultimately, I think that people, like, I strongly believe in the freedom of self-association and the freedom of free association, right? I strongly believe in that right, the right to free association, and you cannot be a believer in the right to free association and think that a group doesn't have the right to exclude certain people based off of given characteristics. Gay men just have a misogyny problem? Yeah, I mean, they definitely do, but I'm not the one who wants to beat that out of them. Does that make sense? I hope eventually we get a forced DNA test for all babies. I'm intersex, and it took a while for me to realize that because I got normalized so much and nobody really understands that. Oh, yeah, I see gay men being transphobic to me. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they do, but I just don't know why a trans woman would be insistent upon being in spaces meant for gay men, I word that wrongly. I mean, they don't want to allow us in women's spaces or feel like we are a burden to the community. Oh, yes. Okay, then yes, you are 100% right. That is definitely a problem among certain gay men, and it does suck. It legitimately is lame. We have to use a bit of imagination, but when Trump is talking, I feel like he makes some really random ass shit comments and makes that the topic of his speech. He really does. Trump will be halfway, kind of, sort of making sense for half a second, and then he'll just decide to go off on some fucking random shit that don't make not a lick of sense. That's not even in the ballpark of sense. And it's like, oh man, what are you rambling about, dude? I feel like even if I was MAGA, I would listen to some of those speeches and be like, Can we get Grandpa off the stage? Can somebody get Grandpa Trump? Man, this dude, repeat do what? Repeat do what is he saying there? Wet from the standpoint of water? Huh? You know? When you say a third party would be objectively right, what would the third party be objectively correct about? No, what I was saying was that we are objectively right. Those of us who support third party options are objectively right when we say that if people would stop being so negative about a third party's chances, that we would actually have a chance to make a national victory or to earn a national victory. That's what I was saying they would be correct about. Thoughts on Nick Fuentes? I want to debate him, but he probably won't talk to a trans woman. And even if he does, he'll probably just like spend the whole time making fun of my voice and saying I sound like a man. So he's a bitch, you know? I don't know. I think he's a bitch until he agrees to debate me. That's how I feel about Nick Fuentes. He's a whiny little bitch until he debates me. Notice how she's dodging the John Keish question? I don't even know who that is. I legitimately do not know who that is. Am I even saying it right? Kalsh or Keish? Saw some people at Walmart with petitions to get a third party on the ballot. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I love to hear it. Yes. I hope you signed it. Have you tried to debate Nick Fuentes or contact him? No, but I, I assume that it's like any other fucking, it's probably like any other environment where, I bug him enough and his people will reach out to me, If I bug his fans enough, eventually they'll bug him enough about me, and eventually he'll reach out. The toothpaste prices was wonderfully, beautifully, hugely decreased since my goldfish changed his name to Bubble. What? What are you even going on about, bruh? I don't even know what they are talking about. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Well, thank you, Pink Fur, for being here. I can't think of a third party currently I'd be okay with, or anybody for that matter. That's why I'm saying one needs to arise. That's why I'm saying one needs to be brought forth. What songs do you know on your guitar? Lots of them. If you guys send $10 in Super Chats or CashApp donations, which you can find down in the description below, I'll play something on the guitar. Play lots of songs. Play some folk punk songs. It's Trumpcore? Oh, okay. John Kasich. John Kasich. Oh, that Republican dude from 10 years ago? Who the fuck cares about him? Who the fuck gives a shit about John Kasich? Wish I could be a politician, but too much brain damage, lots of concussions with 0 of them being checked in. Yeah, well, that is definitely, that is something I would worry about if I were looking into a potential politics career, for sure. Maybe with all the turmoil, libertarians will make a comeback. You sound like fucking Henry Kissinger. My sincerest hope is that with all this turmoil, we will be able to find in ourselves a new way. I forgot what it was he said. He was, what is it he says? It is my hope that through all this turmoil, we will find a global peace predicated on an international global interdependence, founded on the principle of interdependence. I love that quote, by the way. Can I just admit something to you guys? I really look up to Henry Kissinger, not in like a politics way, not in like I like him kind of way, but I just like, in terms of being like a dude that you can look at as like an example of really effective Machiavellianism and power. Man, there are so few statesmen like Henry Kissinger. So few, so precious few. Like, Kissinger was basically a monster to half the country, but he never really managed to be convinced Like, you never really got everybody to believe that he was a monster. And I think that there is just a certain kind of endlessly, like, not admirable, but I don't know how to put it. I just like, there's something infectious about Kissinger to me. Yeah, I agree. Rest in piss, but also like, goddamn, you know, a motherfucker that can say some shit like he did with that turmoil quote, and then turn around and be the motherfucker that's the butcher of Southeast Asia. You gotta respect the hustle, right? That's what I'm getting at more than anything. Claudia de la Cruz, John Kasich. What? Huh? Hold on. Last time I heard about John Kasich was he was running an opposition ticket to Trump back in 2016. Is he now running with Claudia de la Cruz? What? That don't make a goddamn lick of sense. Well, the best way to have turmoil is to create it. I know, right? Well, that's kind of why I think that there's part of me that has kind of like a dark admiration for Henry Kissinger, is because like he figured out a way to get his will done while still remaining, at least to those he needed to remain this way too. He was able to convince people that he was just a kindly old man who was really legitimately just interested in finding a way to achieve peace through all this, And he managed to keep that image up for a long time. Long time. Really, it wasn't until people started making fun of him hardcore in the 90s and shit that he started to become this figure that was kind of like looked down upon in American political discourse. And, like, every time I hear that sound, it creeps me out. Anyway, thoughts on Israel? I think it sucks that Israel gets endless free healthcare and a bunch of other fucking benefits, but that we have to suffer. Notice how she hates John Kasich for no reason. Hold on, Willow. When did I say I hated John Kasich? My pants are cute. These are not pants. This is a blanket. When did I say I hated John Kasich, bro? The world's a bitch and then it has puppies. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Literally all I said, was that the last time I ever heard about John Kasich was he was running an opposition ticket on the Republican side against Trump in the Republican primaries in 2016. And I said, who the fuck cares about John Kasich, that Republican from 10 years ago? I was dismissive of him, but I don't hate him. The reason I don't hate him is because I don't know shit about him other than that he was on the Republican ticket 10 years ago. I'm sick of bullshitting. A John Kasich fan in 2026 is my favorite bit. Oh, okay. Cool. Right on. Gotcha. Well, I'm too autistic to notice that it was a bit, so I was just gonna take you seriously the whole time. 2 more likes. 2 more likes. Get us to 100. Get us to 100. 2 more likes. Come on, hit that like button. Trump made fun of Kasich in his name. He did, dude. Well, I gotta tell you guys, one of the reasons why it took edgy people so long to realize what a fucked up dude Trump was is because a lot of people looked at Trump as a political outsider right up until the moment he got into office. And it took a lot of people to really reconcile the fact that he was just like some just another politician piece of shit that just happened to be more willing to call out the other politician pieces of shit for their being politician pieces of shit. He was more willing to call them out than the average, and that confused a lot of people and made them, think, in my opinion, quite wrongfully, of the president and his real position and his real, like, what he was bringing to the table. But I can admit that I fell under that spell as well, because I loved watching Trump. I don't mean I voted for him. I voted Gary Johnson in 2016. Don't get me wrong. But I still thought, you know what, Trump's probably not as bad as people are giving him credit for. And he actually back in the day had some policies that it was way more agreeable for an average working class person to agree with. Obviously, he had lots of things that I wouldn't have agreed with, but there were plenty of things I was like, all right, okay, cool. And like, the big thing that a lot of people liked, including myself, was watching him tear apart the Republican Party, watching him tear apart the Democratic Party after that. Like, he tore apart the Republicans in the primaries, and it was so fun watching them fall off the stage, as he said. It was so fun watching the numbers get smaller and smaller until it was just him and Ted Cruz up there on that stage. And then he fucking, like, just easily and handily dismisses Ted Cruz, makes him look like a complete moron, a complete backwater shill, just a fucking corpo. Just makes him look like the corporate zombie that he is, even though Trump is that same stock. But Trump is just a little bit more crafty, a little bit more handy in debate, and was able to get them off their game, off their prep. And it was super fun watching him disassemble those people in real time. And admittedly, it was pretty fun watching him disassemble the Democratic candidates as well. He was constantly making fun of the people in the DNC primary. Like, he was pretty much, from the moment that he got fired from NBC, I think Trump entered full campaign mode, and he pretty much made all the right decisions. He ran his campaign the entire time like he was going to be the president, like he was going to be the front runner for the campaign at the very least. Like, from the very outset, he started making fun of his Democratic challengers, or the people who might be his Democratic challengers, in addition to making fun of and shitting on his Republican challengers. And ultimately, it's that political strategy, whatever strategy was involved, that led to his ability to come to power. I just remember John Kasich because of the pancake thing. I don't even remember that. What's your opinion on the trans woman presenting and looking masculine, but just take the title of women in female restrooms? Just take the title of woman in female. What now? I don't think that this really happens, Like, every trans woman I know that prides herself on being a bearded lady is, like, going into the men's room for their own safety at this point, So I don't know. They're like, literally, there's like cis women who won't use the bathroom in public because they look too masculine and are afraid of how they're going to be misinterpreted should they be seen in a woman's restroom. Like, the bathroom fear has started to affect even cisgender people at this point. And I don't think people are going to be happy. I don't think and I'm not saying you're one of these people, mind you, but I don't think the people who are really worried about this bathroom shit are going to be happy until there's literally an x-ray machine there's going to be an antechamber in every bathroom, and there will be an x-ray machine that you have to pass through in order for the next door to unlock for you to be able to get into the bathroom. Because if that x-ray machine doesn't detect the right genitalia, it'll just sound an alarm and be like, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. Gases will be released in 5 seconds. Get out. That's when the fucking bathroom people will finally be happy. When there is literally a fucking genital scanner in every restroom to make sure that if the wrong person with the wrong genitalia goes into a bathroom, they are immediately executed with Zyklon B. That is when they will be happy. And no sooner. They want trans people to shit in a bush. I'm not kidding. They want trans people to piss outside. So... And they're not going to be happy until it's implemented for everybody, which means that there's going to be lots of trans women that are obviously women going into men's restrooms and getting assaulted probably, and there's going to be lots of trans men going into women's restrooms and getting the cops called on them and getting complaints levied at them because there's a man in the woman's bathroom. And it'll take, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of this being the case before somebody finally gets pissed off enough for it to be levied as like some kind of court case, or for something to happen that forces a court case to come about it, and then it'll be found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, and then, we'll move on to the next chapter of American bathroom policy. None ideas locating. I know. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that's why you can't take the bathroom people seriously, is because that's the end point of their logic, The end point of their logic is that here's how your Walmart bathroom trip goes, right? You open the door to the men's room, or you open the door to the women's room, right? The gender neutral bathroom, the one person bathroom, that doesn't have any safeguards, but you open the door to one of the other ones, and instead of it being a bathroom, right, it's like a little 8-foot by 4-foot antechamber. And in the middle of it is like one of those things that you'd find out near the doors, but instead of scanning for any merchandise, it scans for a penis if you're going into the men's room, or a vagina if you're going into the women's room. And if it does not detect a vagina for a person going into the women's room, or a dick for a person going into the men's room, it starts, the like red light starts flashing, and it starts going like beep, 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 wrong gender detected, get out now, and it'll start like pumping, like poisonous gases into the room after 5 seconds, Like, this is the future that transphobes want. This is the future that your transphobic uncle that dreams of people being shot in the face because they came out of the wrong bathroom, this is the future he wants. One in which your little daughter gets scared to death and probably killed in the bathroom gas chamber because she wasn't fucking tall enough to be read right by the scanner or whatever. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. I'm not being facetious, and I'm not being hyperbolic. This is the only reasonable outcome and endpoint for the logic that you need to check people's genitals before they go into a bathroom, and that you have to ensure this with legislative policy. This is the endpoint, and if you don't like the idea of bathroom-based gas chambers, you need to stop caring about whether or not trans people are using the bathroom that corresponds with their sex at birth. That might be one of my funniest bits ever. I'm really going to have to upload that one as a clip. I think I did good there. Dan, well, is this going to be all we do tonight? Is this going to be the whole stream, We talked about the synagogue. Oh, yeah. Did you guys hear about the fucking Uhaul that drove through a crowd of protesters in Iran? That shit was wild. I think that these protests in Iran are going to keep on going, though. They don't show any signs of slowing down. Literally, it did not scare the people at the protest. The people at the protest literally dragged the fucking driver of the U-Haul out of the fucking truck. So what attempted, like, they probably did manage to kill some people at the protest, but what they were trying to do did not work. They were trying to chill the speech and disperse the protests, and instead, whoever the fucking secret state agent that was paid to drive that truck through that crowd got beaten to death probably by the loud and rude hands of the people of Iran. So that's kind of fun to see. I mean, honestly, like, it sucks, but why won't it let me send a longer message? I don't know. I know if you send a super chat, you can buck the word limits a little bit, depending on the how much you donate. I hope not. LOL. I don't know much about Synagogue or the U-Haul attack either. What happened with the Iranian U-Haul attacker? So there's been a bunch of protests in Iran over the last over the last week, basically, ton of protests in Iran. The leadership of Iran is not interested in conceding to the protests' demands, and the president has, like, the president and the um, supreme leader, the Ayatollah, have both been ordering the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps to attack protesters and to infiltrate protests and shit like that. And earlier this afternoon, there was a U-Haul van attack against a group of protesters somewhere in Iran. I forget the exact municipality. They attempted to drive through a crowd. I don't know exactly how far they got, but I do know that they were dragged out of the U-Haul, and, the condition of the driver is unknown at this time. Last time I checked, there's no law forbidding them from using public restrooms. There's not, but people want there to be. People unironically want trans people to not be able to use bathrooms in public. My evidence for that is the amount of turmoil that would actually happen if every passing trans person started using bathrooms that corresponded with their sex at birth. Off topic, but what time is it for you? It's like dead middle of the night for me. Dead middle of the night for me too. It's like 12:30 in the morning. What are the Iranian protests about? Economic problems. The Iranian economy has been doing pretty horribly for a while. $1 is currently trading for about like 3 million real or something like that. Or like you could also put it as like 1.5 million real or whatever it is. I know it's some millions. Is trading for $1, on the exchange marketplace. So things are not looking good in Iran. Inflation has just hit all-time highs. Prices have hit all-time highs. It originally started out as merchants protesting higher and higher prices, making it harder for them to do business, and it kind of exploded from there and has become an overall protest against corruption, a lack of attendance to issues from the administration. Water is a big thing. Like, one of the reasons why Iran's economy is suffering is because they're basically running out of water. Riley with the $2. Thank you for being a member, and thank you for donating. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Right wants US to be white Christian version Iran. Yeah, pretty much. Like the right wing, like the hardcore MAGA right wing, pretty much wants us to be, American Iran. I suppose I don't have a problem with the protesters going ham on him, so no sympathy there. I just hope the protests are not being manipulated by the CIA, the US. Well, I will tell you this much. Okay, are they going to take advantage of it? Yes, the CIA and the United States government are definitely trying to take advantage of these protests and use them to their benefit, but the CIA is not actually good at fomenting protest movements. Not as far as I can tell. Like, very few of the CIA's the CIA doesn't usually, like, these big shadowy government operations don't usually operate by actually fomenting popular support against the regime. It usually comes from empowering some minority opposition group that happens to have enough popular support for them to be able to, the thing of it is, like, the fact of it is, like, it's just a fact of life that if you're a minority political group that already has, like, household name status, you can turn yourself into the majority political group by appearing as though you suddenly have a lot more power and a lot more authority. People like to be on the winning side. Probably gonna have to clean my room and get some sleep. Well, you should leave this on in the background. It's great background stuff. I know that around for domestic protests here at home. Let's see. I had another message so that. Let me see. I had another message to that. I'm sure they're involved, but it seems like the leadership isn't compromised by them. I'm sure there's agitators within, though. Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Honestly, they likely are, but hopefully the leadership of the movement isn't compromised. Yeah. I mean, I think the leadership of the movement is Dude, it's so hard to say, man. It's so hard to say. Like the leadership of the movement probably is like in contact with the CIA. Are they compromised by them? Who knows, man. I feel like you really don't get to find out just how compromised a lot of people and a lot of institutions are until, the last moment. I know they're around for domestic protests here at home. Yeah, so like the CIA does engage in agitation for protest action here at home. And they do engage in international protest agitation and stuff like that too. But the CIA is not very effective at fomenting big, giant, popular uprisings. They are way better at least not through traditional methods, right? Like the way the CIA foments a popular revolution is by empowering some underground leader that a lot of people already have a begrudging respect for, but that doesn't have a lot of overall support. Some opposition leader or something like that. And that's usually how they will do things like that. Not always, but a lot of times. What do you think of the blue lady and trans men? What? I have no idea. Harper want to know, to then be paraded to defend yourself. If someone tried to assault you over it, if they go to the law, then they're in the wrong, not you. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. I just gotta spitball possibilities because the U.S. has a strong interest in Iran for a long time. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have had an interest in Iran forever, literally. Like, almost since the beginning of our country. Not literally, but for at least 125 years, we've had an interest in Iran. Once the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company was formed, everyone in the West had an interest in Iran. People don't realize it, but like oil has only really been a thing in the economy that was worth extracting and getting out of the ground at all for like 200 years. And even then, like really the biggest fucking resource for the longest time was coal. Oil really didn't become like the dominant fucking player that powered everything until 1910s. I guess it depends on the definition and the time period that you choose and go with. One last call for donations. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you send a super chat if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered. We are a completely audience-funded channel, which means that your donations are what enable us to go forward, and I massively appreciate you guys. You can also donate through CashApp, which is in the description down below. Let's go back to whale oil instead. I've actually heard some people make the case that we should. But obviously, I don't think that that's a good idea because we'd have to breed oils. We'd have to breed whales just for oil. And breeding whales has, I don't think, ever been achieved. So, But it's interesting to think, though, the different kind of fuels that we've went through. So what they're talking about, like, let's go back to whale oil. So before coal became the mover of industry, basically, it was whale oil. Because whale oil could be refined into lamp oil, could be refined into fuel oils for early engines that would run some kind of fuel. It could be, you could burn it for heat, you could burn it for light, you could burn it for power, in theory. And it was, therefore, the biggest industrial commodity. It was what powered the world for the longest time. And then the development of the steam, like the development of the steam engine continued forth, and the development of the coal-powered steam engine came about. And once they figured out how to fit a big ship with coal-fed steam propulsion, it was over. The age of whale oil was done. Aren't whales overhunted as it is? Yes, and yet another reason why it would be stupid to go to... Yeah, I know you meant it facetiously. I know you did. Japan supports whale oil switch. Japan switch. Yeah, Japan says switch to whale oil today, please. Please switch to whale oil now. Can you imagine a whale oil farm in the middle of Iowa? Yeah, dude. Literally, we just dig a giant, colossal lake in the middle of Iowa. We fill it with whales. We're farming them for their oil. Yeah, this is my school of pygmy humpback whales, you see? No, that wasn't the one they used for it. What was the whale that they used for whale oil? Was it belugas? Was it no, it was sperm whales, right? Because they have that big fatty thing on top. I don't remember. I'm stupid as fuck. Japan says whale farms in Iowa are dishonorable. Oh, we did not consider the dishonorable nature of the whale farm. Yeah, I bet they would, wouldn't they? Time to leave America? I wish. Whales are so smart. Why didn't they evolve thumbs? Yeah, I know, right? Them and their audacity. If you're so smart, where's your thumbs at, bitch? If whales are so smart, why don't they date me? Exactly. Well. Japan says Willow cannot provide properly for whale farm's family. Whales are trying to take away our rights. When the fuck did we get fixated on whales? Can I ask? Dude, it was Nikki's fucking autistic ADHD ass comment about let's switch back to whale oil. And now we're all talking about whales, man. I love this chat. I love this stream. You know, it really is subject to the whims of a schizophrenic crowd of crazy people. Turtle. Yeah, now we're all whale stemming. Exactly. Did you know there's actually an international law forbidding humans from communicating with dolphins? Go look it up. Dude, that is hilarious. And it doesn't surprise me, dude, because dolphins are smart as fuck and they will form relationships with human beings and human society. In fact, there was a dolphin named I can't remember his name, but he was a white dolphin that occupied this like sound in New Zealand. And every time ships would pass through there, he would guide them through there. And then there was this one ship called the Penguin, where somebody shot at this dolphin. We'll call him Steve because I can't remember his name. So this dude on the dolphin, or this dude on the no, it wasn't the ship wasn't called the Dolphin. The ship was called the Flamingo or something like that. I don't remember what the fucking ship was called, but anyway, the dude on the Flamingo shoots Steve with some fucking bow and arrow or some odd. And the dolphin is like, well, fuck you, bitch, and just runs off from that ship. Didn't stop helping other ships, mind you, but stopped helping that one. And the ship literally fucking like wrecked on its like third attempt to enter the sound that the dolphin would navigate ships through. So like literally they just like Steve just wouldn't help him out anymore, and because that they didn't have the dolphins help, they literally had no idea where to go, because this was not in the era where it was like entirely practical to like their literal only option for figuring out where they should go next was to send out like a canoe basically ahead of their ship to maintain anchor. Number one, they would have to maintain anchor the whole time, send a fucking like canoe out to the waters, and they would have had to laboriously plot out a route through the water to get to the point where they were trying to get to, which would have taken days and days. And of course, you know, Captain wants to do that, so they just tried to, you know, wing it. And without the dolphins' assistance, the ship was lost, along with all cargo on board. just another reason why you shouldn't spite dolphins. But I imagine it's incidents like that dolphin, whose name I wish I could remember, whose actual name, because his name was not Steve. That's just the name I chose. But it's stories like his that make me think that there's probably a good reason for that international law. Because if we were all allowed to communicate with dolphins, we would probably be like. But you know what? It can't be a well-enforced international law because we do communicate with dolphins. You can communicate with a dolphin just fine. I bet it's just like one of those like you're not. I'm interested. You know what? You've piqued my interest actually. This is my comment on whales being smart. Who knows? The gay ship called the Flamingo? Yeah, I think so. Steve was a dolphin, not a goat. Yeah. Steve the dolphin, dude. I think his real name was Lucky or something like that, but I can't remember it. So Steve it is. And you know what that dolphin had to say whenever he would greet a ship, by the way? He was really considered forward thinking for his time because of this. He had actually learned and mastered human language. And whenever a new ship would come to port, he would say, he would be like welcoming to port, and he would say, like, I am Steve. Am I funny yet, you guys? Am I funny? I was hoping that the little react thing was going to light up with hearts and laughter, but it didn't. Yeah! Jack Black jump scare indeed. It was Echo the dolphin. Oh, damn. Okay, cool. Another thing about dolphins is that their male genitalia folds inside their bodies like a fruit roll up. Yes, that is true. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, Max, if you like nature wild documentaries, Nat Geo wild documentaries, you should also check out the BBC's documentaries with fucking David Attenborough. Because even if you don't necessarily like hearing about his, like, because I will admit, in recent years, like, if you don't like hearing about the climate change shit, which some people don't because it's depressing or they have issues with the science, I don't think you should. I believe in climate change, but, I understand that there are just some people that don't want to, don't want to deal with it, whether it's because it depresses them or because they have ideological objections. But even despite those, I would advise someone to watch David Attenborough's documentaries because he is such a beautiful presenter, and the shots that they get are every bit as good as the type of film that Nat Geo gets. In fact, they share a lot of photographers, so definitely check the BBC's documentaries out as well. I just wanted to tell you that you're funny. I don't know what was being talked about. This was a random impulse. Aw, thank you. Well, thank you. That makes me happy. I never want to eat fruit roll up again after hearing that. I know, it does kind of make it a little gross, doesn't it? Echo is an SNES game reference, by the way, about a dolphin with magical girl powers. Oh, I was just going to accept that as truth. I was just going to be like, oh, okay, I guess her name really was the fucking Echo the dolphin. How would I know? What about Chimpy the monkey? Yeah, dude. Chimpy the monkey. Goldie the goldfish. Hammy the hamster. Billy the goat. Okay, what is the most cow name you can think of? Bessie, right? Is Bessie the best cow name, or is there a better name? What is the best name for a cow? Like, just start throwing them out. Heifer? Okay, no, I'm talking about like a name like you would give like a heifer, not, a name for a cow, but a name for a cow. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Betsy? Yeah, okay. Betsy. Bessie. Okay. We got two good ones going on so far. I had a cow named Ostrich. Nice. That's an exotic one. Mabel? Mabel's a good one. Mabel's all right. I can picture a cow named Mabel. Okay, okay. We're cooking, chat. We're cooking. What else we got? Bovina? Bovina. Yeah, Bovina is a perfect name for a cow. That is true. Ruth, probably. Ruth is not a bad name for a cow, although Ruth, to me, is like the name of an old hen, Or the name of a hen with an old countenance to her. I thought the Dreamcast was the Echo remake. I don't fucking know. Simon Cowell. Okay, Riley wins. That one's the best answer. Simon Cowell. That's funny. It was the same game. Dude, when I get inside, I'm going to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I want you bitches to be jealous of me, okay? So I'm going to tell you what kind of jelly it's made out of. I'm going to make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with homemade plum jelly. With fucking homegrown plums as the fruit stock. Delicious, delicious homegrown plums. Otis. Otis is a good one, but Otis is the name for a bull, not a heifer. Hey, I'm talking about girl names for an actual cow, not a bull. Good. That does sound very good. It does, dude. It sounds so fucking good. I have cherry preserves. Cherry preserves are all right. They're actually good. With delicious jellyfish jelly. Yes, jellyfish jelly. Otis the cow is a trans icon. Why is that, by the way? Like, why? Oh, I get it. I get it. Now I get it. Never mind. I get it now. I get why Otis the cow is a trans icon. Why does Otis have udders, right? Blair White the cow. That's mean. Nothing beats well-cooked swordfish with white rice and lemon. Shut up, Max. Stop bragging about your delicious-ass dinner. Oh, God, dude. I can just smell the fucking new construction coming off of that sentence, man. And I can just smell the Cadillac dripping from those words. I like a good dinner of swordfish and lemon over rice. I bet you fucking do, huh? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, I promise. My favorite meal? I mean, it sounds delicious. I've never had that, but that sounds so fucking fire. Hopefully you guys will make me rich and famous enough to afford meals like that every night. Dude, if I ever fucking get a mansion, which I probably never will, but if I ever, which I don't think I would even if I had the money to, but if I ever got like a nice house where I had like my room and, my fucking shit and all that, like, dude, if I was still doing this shit, I would, which obviously I would totally have like a Patreon perk where like if you donate $1,000 a month for 3 months or more, then you can like come stay at my house for 3 days and just like appear on the stream with me and shit. That would be so fucking fun. And that would be so cool. I will be honest with you guys. Maybe it's like the delusions of grandeur or something, but do think about the possibility of like eventually being able to project myself into some kind of success like that, and being able to have like a legitimately nice house that I could show off on camera and not be worried about or ashamed of, you know? Because it's not like my house is unsafe, but it's ugly, man, and I wouldn't want to like film inside the actual place where I live, because it's like clean, you know, it's kept up, and it's just not like new or like well put together in terms of like the furniture all being like nice and well maintained and shit, you know? It's just like, you know, imagine your average white trash family in America, and I probably live in a house like that, but significantly cleaner. And there you go. Homemade naan is crazy. Homemade naan is fucking delicious, though. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Who's saying parasocial? What's going on now? What am I missing? Could have been the prep, but I had it in Florida and I couldn't finish it. Damn. Connor Eat Pants collab? Huh? I don't know. I don't know. When indeed? When indeed? I can make Bao steam buns? That sounds good. I joked because you talked about a Patreon perk where your fans could meet you IRL. Oh, okay. Define parasocial. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that would be. It would be very parasocial, but why shouldn't I profit off of the parasociality of those willing to pay? You know? Like if some really rich person wants to pay $3,000 to spend 3 days with me and chill out with me and go out to eat and shit, you know, like why wouldn't I? If I had that opportunity, if I had that kind of place, you know? If I was that big, if I had that kind of sway. Alligator tastes like chicken. Salmon is my second favorite. Alligator doesn't taste exactly like chicken. It does kind of have its own unique thing going on. Alligator is very hard to describe, which is why I think people like me and you, Max, default to saying it tastes like chicken, but it does, but it doesn't. It tastes like chicken if chicken tasted a little like fish, but not bad. It's certainly not like catfish, and it's not like salmon or tuna either, but it's uh, easy to love, hard to explain. You just got to try it. I'll stick to chicken, thank you. Most people would. Most people are very averse to the idea of eating alligator. Well said. Yeah, I could tell you've had alligator then. You're not just bullshitting. Yeah. Honestly, my favorite way of alligator tail being served is just like cut up into little nuggets, you know, and fried up and used in a po' boy or served like as an appetizer or by themselves. But you can also cut it up into big fillets and, um, you know, cut them up into smaller slices and then fry them up that way. You can, there's probably a whole lot of shit you can do with alligator tail. But come to think of it, I've actually never had it any other way than either in the bigger fillets or in the little nuggets. But I assume there are indeed other ways you can make it. Stick it in a pot and boil it down. I'm sure it'd be just as edible. If you think about it, alligators and birds are closer to each other than either of them are to anything else on the planet. then so like it makes perfect sense that alligator meat would be most comparable to chicken. But it's kind of interesting, right? Because there are variations in that even. Emu meat, I believe it is. Or is it ostrich meat? I forget which one it is, but there's one of the big, flightless birds that is said to taste and, be best prepared exactly like beef. And duck is an example of a bird that, like, you don't want to cook duck. To what? You don't want to cook duck. You don't want to cook duck all the way through. You want to leave it like a little fucking rare, a little mid-rare, because unless your duck is horribly diseased, it's food safe, number one. And number two, it actually makes the meat kind of tough and gamey and shitty if you cook the fuck out of it in most cases. Like, you have to do very particular things to make, like, cooking duck all the way through work out in your favor. Yeah, you have to cuck Duke. I don't rub law lemons. I can't talk, dude. I love platypus eggs for breakfast. Me too, dog. Rabbit is amazing. No, it's not. Why are you lying to these people? No, it is not. Stop lying to my audience. Rabbit is bad. Rabbit is dog shit. Tastes bad. Not good. Rabbit is meh. I don't like it. People think rabbit is good because they feel cool because they eat rabbit. But it's not actually good. And I'm sick of pretending it is. It's just like venison, dude. I'm just going to come out and say it. Venison is good prepared in specific ways. But honestly, venison just is not that versatile a meat. It's just not that versatile a meat. And it's not really that good unless it's prepared in specific ways. But people talk about it like it's the tastiest meat on the planet. It's good, okay? Deer steak is delicious, but you got to know how to cook a deer steak. And a lot of people fucking overcook the shit out of them because they slice the fuck out of their steaks. Make them too small and too skinny. Ugh, man. Fuck, dude. Like, there's just too few ways you can cook deer, frankly. Like, give me a hog and I can tell you 200 different ways to prepare every fucking thing on that bitch, right? And so can any other competent home cook. Cow, same thing. Chicken, same thing. So many different options. Endless options for renewal. Endless options for renewal. But when it comes to like deer or rabbit, the fact that they are like 95% lean means functionally the same thing for both of them. They're goddamn nigh on useless. Like, as far as like versatile meats go, they aren't. They're like useful in very specific ways. It's got a strong earthy flavor, yeah. Rabbit is a stew meat, deer is for jerky. Yeah, I've never had rabbit as a stew meat. I bet I would like it if it was served as a stew meat. And honestly, I've always felt like I bet there is probably a number of ways to cook these, slow cook these different meats in enough oil and water to make them nice and moist. And that, I've had that. And whenever I've had that with venison, it's really fucking good. Whenever I've had that with venison, it's been good. So I would assume that it would also be good if I had it with rabbit. But I have not so far had it. You know, I wonder if there are any like Indian style slow cooker recipes, because I am obsessed with Indian food, and I bet, like, I know for a fact that there are a bunch of Indian stews that, take like 8 hours to cook or whatever, or benefit from extended periods of time being, on the heat. And I bet that the same recipe that would help make goat better would make deer better. Manatee steaks?
Manatee steaks? That's alarming. Hello, YouTube? I got a report here. This YouTuber's threatening me, says she's gonna make steaks out of me and my family. Me and my family are gonna be made into steaks. I don't like this, YouTube. You're gonna take this shit down.
Manatee is the Wagyu of the river, dude. Yeah. The manatee just spends all his time grazing at the bottom of the river, sucking on all that delicious algae. Basically like a giant sea cow. I mean, there's a reason why they call him that. That delicious, slightly kind of oceany, beefy flavor when you cut open the... Never mind, I'm going too far with this. I've already made implications. I need to shut up. For legal purposes, I don't intend to cut Brett Keane up and eat him, okay? I'm making a joke because somebody said something about manatee steaks, alright? Fermented fish fart sauce is good, but it takes 40 years to make it. Are you talking about garum? I actually do like a lot of these weird fermented fucking creations. I've never had garum, but I have had Asian fish sauce. I've had Worcestershire sauce, which is a derivative. Flavor unmatched, hell yeah. What did I just walk into?
Oh, talking about the manatee. Manatee stew. Yeah, caught him up for manatee stew.
Anyway, I'm freezing my fucking ass off. It's cold as shit. I gotta use the bathroom and it's late, so I'm gonna bid you guys adieu. I want Monster Hunter steaks. Oh my god, me too, dude. I want the steaks from Monster Hunter as well. Oh my god, I want Monster Hunter steaks. Oh my god. Yes, please win. That is what I have always wanted from a steak. I gotta tell you. One of these days... Oh my god, I just thought of a great piece of content. Oh, I want to do it so bad. Oh, I want a cooking channel. Okay, dude, if this channel continues being successful and I'm fucking able to, I am going to make a fucking cooking channel, dude. Because there's so many things I want to do with that, and I've wanted to do with that forever. But I fucking just got a great idea, dude. Recreating a meal from Monster Hunter World. Recreating a meal from Monster Hunter World, dude. That would be so fucking fun. Oh, that'd be so good. Is there more than one Rathalos? Yes, there's a bunch of Rathaloses. I feel a Rathalos steak would be a perfect amount of spicy. Oh, dude. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, I'm so hungry now, and I'm thinking about food. Alrighty. Good night. Cooking with Phoebe Gale, having so much fun. Yeah. Yeah, clap, clap. Okay, anyway, goodbye, guys. I appreciate y'all. Everything you do and everything that we are. Yeah, you know. Remember that you are Stardust and that I love you. Okay? Peace.